Welcome to another episode of Trophy Strife, the show where I, Emmy nominee Louis Virtel, who was nominated for an Emmy, talk about the most egregious award show snubs in history. Now, you may know me as an Oscars aficionado, but the Emmys are coming up, and would you believe it? I know a thing or two about television as well, but definitely not three. But I'm not alone, because this is a special episode. I'm bringing in a special friend, my Keep It co-host, Ira Madison III.
Thanks, Louis. I'm very happy to be here talking about one of my favorite things, TV. I'm a TV writer, TV fan, and most importantly for you, an Emmy voter. So, I have a few thoughts to get off my chest, especially when it comes to today's category, which is Best Actress in a Leading Role Comedy.
Lisa Kudrow in The Comeback, 2005 and 2014. Obviously, if all she ever did was play Phoebe Buffay on Friends, that would be enough of a contribution to society, but she was also on Mad About You. She was also on Web Therapy. She's also on some sort of drug, because how does she do the things she does? On The Comeback, Lisa Kudrow plays a washed-up actress named Valerie Cherish, and when I first watched this show, I thought it was not for me. I thought the indignities she suffered as somebody who was mistreated by an industry that once loved her was too much to take, too much falling on her face, too much laughing at her, not with her. But this show really finds a magical, soulful center when this character, who has plenty of unlikable qualities, strange qualities, also reveals her survival system in an industry that is endlessly cruel. And I am shocked to say that when this show came back for a second season to 2014, somehow it was better than the first season, which is chock-a-block with legendary moments. The Palm Springs episode alone would be in my top 10 episodes of TV history. Several moments on the show have been memed to death. You might remember when she said, "I got it," and then tried saying it several different ways, which resulted in one of the first GIFs. Remember GIFs? We used to have a lot of them, and that was one of the main ones in my life. Every Friends cast member went on to wildly different projects, some more successful than others, some more underrated than others. I'm talking about episodes, which was a very good show. But The Comeback, by and far, is the best of them, and showed that Lisa Kudrow is one of the most poetically gifted actors of her generation. And in the role of Valerie Cherish, who seems to be a confused, self-absorbed person, there are moments of thought and moments of silence with the character that resonate so well. This is definitely a role where no one else could have played it. I can't think of one other actress who could bring the harried, embarrassing, and yet soulful qualities to this character. She won a Supporting Actress Emmy in 1998 for Friends, received a whole bunch of nominations, 1995, 97, 99, 2000, 2001. In 1998, when she won the Emmy for Friends, she was up against Julia Louis-Dreyfus in Seinfeld. Then in 2006, when she lost for The Comeback, she lost to Julia Louis-Dreyfus on The New Adventures of Old Christine, which is officially Julia Louis-Dreyfus's third best role. Then in 2015, she was nominated for The Comeback again, and she lost to Julia Louis-Dreyfus for Veep. I just want to say these continued duels are so something that would happen to Valerie Cherish. There is meta quality to this lifelong battle she's in. Lisa Kudrow actually has a really varied film career, but she tends to pop up in smaller roles. I need more Romeo and Michelle size stuff. And according to Mira Sorvino, they're full speed ahead on Romeo and Michelle 2. Well, it's happening awfully slowly at full speed. I've gotten no updates since then, so I'm looking forward to Romeo and Michelle if it's occurring, Mira. We'll be seeing Lisa Kudrow in the upcoming Netflix dark comedy No Good Deed. But if you want an amazing Lisa Kudrow fix, watch any interview she's ever given. She's one of the genius interviewees of our time. The point is, I think she will be back on the Emmy dais at some point, and I hope it's with a lead actress performance. Hell, it may be in this No Good Deed show. I have no idea.
Phylicia Rashad in The Cosby Show from 1984 to 1992. Phylicia Rashad is a highly respected theater actress with 3 Tonys to her name and tons of other awards and accolades, including her position as Dean of Howard University's Chadwick A. Boseman College of Fine Arts from 2021 to 2024. But what she may always be known best for is the mom of The Cosby Show, Claire Huxtable. Rashad began her career in 1971 when she started on Broadway, just 1 year after she graduated from Howard. Fun Phylicia Rashad fact, which every Keep It listener had better know. She is the sister of famous choreographer Debbie Allen, and her second husband is the main guy from The Village People. The more you know. But you better have already known. Phylicia Rashad is an amazing performer and such a grounded performer and brought so much heart to The Cosby Show, a show which I don't even personally love that much, but I am always seated whenever Claire Huxtable is on the screen. The Cosby Show ran for 8 seasons, from 1984 to 1992, but Rashad was only nominated in 1985 and 1986. In 1985, she lost to Jane Curtin for Kate and Allie, and in 1986, she lost to Betty White for The Golden Girls. Thankfully, Phylicia Rashad is a well-regarded actress. She did end up getting an Emmy in 2008 in the lead actress in a miniseries or movie category for the adaptation of A Raisin in the Sun, which she won the Tony for in 2004. And then in 2009, she landed a 3-season guest role on This Is Us and won the Outstanding Guest Actress in a Drama Series award at the Emmys in 2019 and 2020. The thing about Phylicia Rashad is that she is amazing in literally everything that she has done. Okay, I have had the pleasure of seeing her on stage in a Skeleton Crew in 2022. I've seen her in August, Osage County. I saw her in a revival of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. And that's not even getting into the fact that she was the witch in Into the Woods in 1988. She was in Jelly's Last Jam as well in 1992. She is a queen of the stage. And so when she joined The Cosby Show, this was prestige coming to NBC. She never really got her flowers for The Cosby Show, but she's been well regarded in every other thing that she touched. And so I think that was just a time when they weren't really nominating black people for anything. So I'm sure Phylicia Rashad didn't really expect to get an Emmy nomination in the first place. And then when she did get one, I'm sure she didn't expect to win.
Bonnie Franklin in One Day at a Time, 1975 to 1984. There are lots of famous matriarchs in television history, both drama and comedy. But Bonnie Franklin to me was the first mom on TV I ever saw who was as exasperated as a real-life parent. She was a single mom with 2 smart-ass kids, Julie and Barbara, who routinely got her goat, but she ultimately was so loving that the anger she displayed on screen made her, to me, feel like a complete character, a realistic character, and a real triumph for Norman Lear, who had already given us so many legendary characters by that point, including the Bunkers and Maude and the Jeffersons. One Day at a Time is about a newly single mother who takes her daughters to live in Indianapolis. They live in a cute little apartment. They get in fights all the time. This is a family that looks frankly nothing alike, but they have such an amazing rapport that you believe they are a family. We had Valerie Bertinelli, who played Barbara Cooper on the show, on Keep It, and she talked about how that connection was instant and how she remained friends with her TV mom, Bonnie Franklin, for the rest of her life. But I so appreciate that this show made huge swings into dramatic arguments. It was formerly a comedy. You know, it looks like a sitcom. Characters come in, waltz in. There's a mother with her withering one-liners. There's daughters with familiar sitcom problems. But sometimes this show would become so harshly confrontational. It did not fear drama, and it did not fear foregoing laughs. But also, sometimes those arguments would end with a surprise laugh, and that made it seem all the more realistic, even though it looks like a typical sitcom. Mackenzie Phillips, the other daughter on the show who played Julie Cooper, she left the show due to personal problems, drug issues. But the show used her departure as a way of creating an interesting and shocking and yet realistic family storyline. Compared to the other comedies on TV at that time, One Day at a Time, to me, is so much edgier and so much more interesting and so much more life-affirming, basically, because it wasn't afraid to bring in all sorts of feelings, ones that previously we only associate with maybe epic dramas. Prior to One Day at a Time, Bonnie Franklin was nominated for the musical Applause, which starred Lauren Bacall and was based on the movie All About Eve. Insultingly, she only received 1 nomination over the show's extremely long run. That was in 1982, but she lost to Carol Kane in Taxi. Now, ain't nothing wrong with Minka on that show. I love Carol Kane, and I have loved her through Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and also in her new Criterion Closet video, where it turns out she's a movie girl. Carol Kane, come on, keep it, please. The only character on the show who ever won an Emmy was Pat Harrington Jr., vaudeville legend, playing the intrusive and frankly gross Superintendent Schneider. They had to revamp that character considerably for the reboot on Netflix. You probably know Mackenzie Phillips from So Weird on the Disney Channel. You probably know Valerie Bertinelli from her years and years hosting Emmy-winning cooking shows. But Bonnie Franklin is a name we just don't hear as much anymore, and I think an Emmy win would have really solidified her legacy.
Courteney Cox in Friends from 1994 to 2004, and in Cougar Town from 2009 to 2015. It's crazy to imagine a show like Friends ending up on a list of snubs, because people are always talking about that damn show. But let me explain. This show was a true ensemble in that all 6 of the main cast could have easily won an Emmy for their work. But in the 10 years that it ran, the only women to ever win were Jennifer Aniston in 2002 and Lisa Kudrow in 1998. Courteney Cox, who played Monica Geller, was never even nominated. Listen, I don't really care about Friends as much as a lot of people do, but I will say that I did enjoy Friends when it aired. I will rewatch a Friends episode if it is on when I'm at a white person's house. It's weird because I just wonder if Emmy voters were maybe just genuinely less interested in Monica. She did sort of play the straight woman in the way that David Schwimmer sort of played the straight guy as her brother Ross. They were not as wacky as the rest of the cast, and they didn't get a lot of big, flashy things to do on the show, except for when Monica was putting that horrible, horrible fat suit on Friends. And maybe that's a disqualifier altogether. The fat suit that they had Monica in multiple times. And that was just supposed to be the comedy on Friends. In her post-Friends career, Courteney Cox was primed for a Leading Actress Award when she landed the lead in Cougar Town in 2009. While the show was successful and ran for 6 seasons, all she ever got was one singular Golden Globe nomination in 2010, and then a smattering of Critics' Choice and People's Choice noms. But I would say that Cougar Town was a fantastic television series, much better than Friends, and it's kind of a shame that she was never nominated once for Cougar Town, a very, very underrated sitcom. Cougar Town was a Bill Lawrence show. You may remember him as the guy who created Scrubs. It was about Courteney Cox getting a divorce and living in the cul-de-sac and dating a younger man because she was a cougar. Get it? Busy Phillips was also fantastic on that show. But Courteney Cox is it, okay? This is maybe speaking from someone who is a big Scream fan and loves Gale Weathers, but Courteney Cox is an amazing comedic actress. Her comic timing is impeccable, and I think her ability to work in an ensemble cast is also pretty unmatched. I love everything that Courteney Cox has ever been in, including that really awful FX TV series Dirt, where she famously used a vibrator in the pilot episode, and that was supposed to be raunchy for television, and it was mostly just weird. Marla Gibbs in 227 from 1985 to 1990. For the inundated, Marla Gibbs is a 93-year-old actress as of this June, and she's incredible. You may remember her from The Jeffersons, if you ever caught it on Nick at Night, where she played George Jefferson's maid, Florence Johnston, from 1975 to 1985. She was nominated for the Supporting Actress Emmy 5 times during the show's run, but never won. Then in 1985, she joined the cast of 227, which was a sitcom adaptation of Christine Houston's 227, a play about women in a predominantly black apartment building in 1950s Chicago. Marla Gibbs starred as a housewife named Mary Jenkins, though the only acting nominations for the show came from Jackée Harry, who played the younger neighbor Mary constantly bickered with. Jackée won the Emmy in 1987 and was nominated again in 1988, but lost to Estelle Getty from the Golden Girls. Them Golden Girls were always racking up some gold. There is a fantastic scene where Jackée and Marla Gibbs go at it in the laundry room, trading insults with each other, and that is just a sample of how funny 227 was and how funny it was when it was firing on all cylinders. The show really was at its best when those two women were in scenes with one another. That is maybe one of my favorite scenes in the series, except for the episode where Jackae's Sandra goes on Family Feud. That is one of the funniest episodes of television that has ever existed. Funnily enough, Jackée is currently on Days of Our Lives, where she plays Paulina Price, and she is the mayor of Salem, and I watch her every day because I love Days of Our Lives. And If you recall, Days of Our Lives used to air with the insane soap opera Passions on NBC in the 2000s, and Marla Gibbs happened to be on Passions. She played Aunt Irma, who was close to Eve Russell, the town's doctor, when Eve was younger. And she showed up in the series to remind Dr. Eve Russell that she used to live a sordid life of jazz and booze. And every single scene that Marla Gibbs is in is hysterical because she was basically a walking thesaurus for the word slut. She hated Eve. She would call her a slut. She would call her a whore. She would call her a slattern. I learned maybe about 50 different ways to say the word slut from Marla Gibbs alone on Passions, and that was just as funny as her work on 227. It's obviously amazing that Jackie got the Emmy for 227, but I think there should have been room for both of those incredibly funny women to have walked away with gold.
And before we get to our last snub, I just want to remind you, if you're having a good time, if you're feeling entertained, please subscribe below. It really helps us out. We'll make more videos because of it. Everybody's happy. I hope you're happy. Elizabeth Montgomery in Bewitched, 1964 to 1972. Samantha Stevens is one of the greatest characters in television history. First of all, she's amusing. Second of all, she looks amazing. But third of all, there is a subversive quality to her always, how she is the picture of a sitcom housewife, and yet she is also the hub of chaos on the show, and also the person who controls the chaos on the show. I love how she handles her frankly doofy husband, Darren, both Darrens, by the way, both Dick York and Dick Sargent later in the show, how she handles the unbelievably, unspeakably fabulous Endora and her world of hairdos, and even her nosy neighbor, Gladys Kravitz. People obviously remember Bewitched because Elizabeth Montgomery would wiggle her nose and magical things would occur and somebody would end up in Antarctica or whatever. But there was something else about that character and about her self-possession that made the show way cooler than it needed to be. Something that needed to be invented for television that I think Elizabeth Montgomery is responsible for is a cool female lead. Prior to this, sitcoms usually starred someone like Lucille Ball on I Love Lucy, who is, of course, hilarious, of course, legendary, but we didn't really believe she had a center of radness the way Elizabeth Montgomery on Bewitched did. Elizabeth Montgomery received 5 nominations during the run of the show, but never won. Now look, it's not like Elizabeth Montgomery lost to some dingbats. 1968, she lost to Lucille Ball for her second or third best show, The Lucy Show. She lost to Mary Tyler Moore, who was simply fabulous on The Dick Van Dyke Show. And then she also lost to Hope Lange, who I actually love in Peyton Place, the movie, for The Ghost and Mrs. Muir. That one we can dispute. Elizabeth Montgomery never ended up winning an Emmy. She was nominated for several TV movies after the fact. Prior to Bewitched, she actually got an Emmy nomination for The Untouchables. And then following Bewitched, she was nominated for Best Lead Actress in a Drama for Get Ready, A Case of Rape. She was nominated for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Special Program, Drama, or Comedy for The Legend of Lizzie Borden, and Outstanding Lead Actress in a Limited Series for The Awakening Land. And apparently she's a real-life sixth cousin of Lizzie Borden herself, and I wish I could say the same thing about me. In general, she's just one of my favorite celebrities, period. She appeared on Password a lot, the game show, and was a determined game player. In fact, Alan Ludden, the legendary host of Password, called her the Queen of Password. And I just want to say he's married to Betty White, who could have called herself the Queen of Password too, so that is saying something. But somehow her legend straddles TV land history, game show lore, and LGBT history. In the 90s, she was the Grand Marshal of the LA Pride Parade alongside Dick Sargent, her TV husband, who came out on National Coming Out Day the previous year. Does it get more amazing than that? That is it. This has been Trophy Strife, the special Emmys edition. This year's Emmys are tomorrow, so make sure to tune in to our episode on the Keep It podcast on Wednesday, where we'll recap the whole thing for you. I'll be at the ceremony as a nominee this year, so you definitely don't want to miss our coverage.